folks, hope y'all are doing okay today. Thanks for tuning in for another Cruise with Smooth. Heading out in the old work truck to do a little side hustling. Hang on a second. We'll get that fixed one of these years. Before I get into today's topic, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Hope y'all are doing okay. I had planned on going up to Danny's this evening to do some more of I'm No Expert, but had something come up that prevented me from going. One of my kids has a doctor's appointment early in the morning, just a well check kind of thing for next school year. And it's early in the morning, and Danny and I normally don't get together till 10, 11 o'clock at night, so that's just not going to happen. We're going to end up doing it one day next week, most likely, unless something else comes up, but he and I have been talking about it. So anyway, the thing I wanted to talk about today was it's related to coronavirus, but it's not the entire premise of the topic. I've been listening to several doctors, various sources and whatnot, and there seems to be some, I don't know if I'd say a consensus, but several concerned voices. That have opinions on some of the precautions that we are in the process of taking about masks and other personal protective equipment that some states, including mine, are preparing to mandate the use of when you go into businesses and things like that. So I want to start off, I've got family members that work in the healthcare industry. My sister-in-law is a paramedic in a big city. And on a typical call, she gets called out to a place. She is not wearing gloves at the time that she receives the call. She gets out there. She puts on gloves, she puts on masks, she may put on the big safety shields if there's blood or other bodily fluids. They will transport that patient into the hospital. They will take off their protective equipment that they have on. They dispose of it at the hospital or in a special receptacle in the ambulance, and then they go on to their next call. Well, due to the spike in use of everything mask related, there's not enough to go around, so they're having to reuse their masks, and that's a bad thing for a number of reasons. You're sitting there breathing into fabric that is right over your face. Your breath has moisture in it, and you are creating a warm, high humidity environment that is a breeding ground for a lot of other bacteria. Coronavirus doesn't do too well in high humid and high heat environments, but other bacteria do fairly well there. So you're creating an environment in which other bacteria live. They're also having to reuse other PPE that's typically supposed to be a one-time use thing. So the main issue that I heard with it is that masks are a breeding ground for stuff, not necessarily coronavirus, and that the gloves are isolating you from everyday germs that you just come in contact with. Okay. Gonna go ahead and give out a warning for the germaphobes. You're not gonna want to hear this, but it's the truth. Every day, rewind a year ago, 8 months ago, to a pre-coronavirus Earth, before all these precautions were being taken. Every day in normal day-to-day stuff that you would go do, you were exposing yourself to various types of germs and bacteria and viruses and everything else daily. You'd go out, touch a shopping cart, touch stuff at the grocery store, touch stuff at the gym, touch stuff here, touch stuff there. And sure, some of it may have been wiped down, some of it may not. You might have taken a little extra precautions as a person, because that's just who you are, and that's fine. Believe it or not, there are several germ-ridden things that most people touch on a daily basis that they do not realize. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Anything in your bathroom, unless you are just completely OCD about everything, is 100% nasty. Anything. I don't care if you clean your bathroom once a week. By day 2, it's nasty. Everything in there is. Just the fact. It's lousy with different bacteria. Your steering wheel, that catches a lot of bacteria from sneezing, and the fact that everything that you touch your steering wheel and your cell phone. And think about all the conversations that you've had on your phone, all the times it's been right by your head, your ear, your fingers, you scratch your face, you let other people touch your phone, things like that. It's lousy with bacteria all the time. So on any given day, you're exposed to a ton of bacteria, and your immune system, which is a wonderful thing, is highly adaptable, and it would vary, of course, person to person and geographical area and such, but you don't notice the effects of being contaminated with all these various bacteria, fungus, germs, etc., because your immune system crushes it most of the time. It takes the average healthy person will never know. If they got the common cold and had been exposed to that strain before, you'd never know you had it. So there's a ton of bacteria that your immune system just takes care of on a daily basis. Well, if all of a sudden you're using hand sanitizer like crazy, you're using gloves like crazy, you are wearing masks in a manner where you do not create a breeding ground for all sorts of nasty things, and you're cleaning everything more than normal, you are reducing the workload of your immune system. And to an extent, it's like a muscle. If you were working a very hardcore industrious job, and all of a sudden you're not working near as much or near as hard, all the muscles that you built up in your hardcore industrious job are going to atrophy. I raised my hand during all those because all that's me. I've been rather lazy the past few weeks, and it's made a little difference. It's not as easy to do some of the things that I have to do around the house. So, anyway, but yeah. And so your immune system is like a muscle, and if you take all the workload off of it, and it doesn't have to kill any random bugs, and doesn't have to work, it atrophies, just like a muscle would if you don't use it. Give you a case in point scenario here. Someone that I know this number of years ago got into a very bad car wreck and destroyed their right leg. Shattered the ankle, shattered the tibia and fibia, did a lot of damage to the foot. It was ugly. This was, good grief, 2012, I think, yeah. So it's been a minute. Well, when their first couple surgeries with this involved putting on an external fixator, which is the big, gnarly, nasty looking thing that goes around the limb, and you have points where the skin has holes in it and goes into the bone, and these pins go into the bone and hold everything the way they're supposed to. It looks nasty. It's the best way that they had to rehabilitate their leg to the point where they could use it some. Well, anyway, they were in an external fixator for around a month and a half, I think. Then they went into a cast, and they went into a soft cast, and several other things, but they were not using that leg for 2-3 months, I think. Around that amount of time. And you could tell a difference just looking at them in the amount of muscle mass that was lost between one leg and the other. It was sizable. They had lost a lot of muscle mass in one leg, and not only did they have to go to physical therapy in order to rehab the joint as much as was possible, but they also had to rebuild muscle mass on that leg in order to walk. So it was a process to get where they had any amount of stamina while walking, not only due to the joint damage, but due to the muscle loss. So, same kind of thing, where if you let your immune system just sit and not have to take care of any bacteria or viruses or whatever for a while, and then when the coronavirus threat is over, you're going to get sick from everything else that your body normally just dealt with, because it's going to be bombarded. So my state, they are planning on issuing a order. If you go into a store, you got to wear a mask. Personally, I don't like the order. I think our governor has turned into a petty tyrant, but I plan on wearing a mask as little as possible. The second I walk out of the door into that parking lot, it's coming off. I wore a mask, when was it? Sunday. We had a drive-in church service, and during the practice, we've got a couple new parents in there, a couple parents that are pregnant, things like that. So they're asking people to just wear a mask during the rehearsal and then take them off during the actual service. That way we can get on our microphones and everything, and that's fine with me. But it's a pain. It fogs up my glasses. I can't breathe inside the darn thing. So I plan on wearing it as absolutely little as possible and necessary. I haven't used any more hand sanitizer than I normally use. I have stepped up hand washing a little bit and been double and triple checking to make sure that the kids wash their hands when they need to. But I haven't gone nuts, because you don't want to baby your immune system while dealing with this virus, and on the off chance that I do catch it, I don't want to have a impaired immune system or a weakened immune system if I have to deal with it. So it is fairly rare that I get sick where it's debilitating. You know, I might catch a head cold or something a couple times a year, but it's, you know, I feel a little under the weather, I'm coughing and runny nose, things like that, and then I'm fine. The last time that I got sick to the point that it was debilitating was actually a stomach bug, and that was almost 2 years ago. So exposure to germs is a good thing. Give you a good story here real quick before I go. My mother, about 16 years ago, I guess, ish, took a job as a school bus driver. A friend of hers took a job as a school bus driver a few years prior. She liked it because she had the same schedule basically as her kids. The job just worked out good for her as a stay-at-home mom because she could, you know, take care of stuff in between bus runs, and she could have the same days off as her kids. She had summer break with her kids. She had all the holidays with her kids on the same schedule. It worked out good. My mom took the same job. I was homeschooled. And the first year and a half, my mother was constantly a little under the weather. Now she doesn't catch hardly anything because she's constantly exposed to all the kids and their germs. All the kids at schools are germ factories. I'm not trying to sound mean, that's just a fact. You put a bunch of kids in close proximity to one another, they're going to swap all their germs. And then you put them all in a 40-foot long, 8-foot wide tin can, and if any of those germs are airborne, everybody else gets all the germs. So I appreciate all the recommendations, and I think that if coronavirus was going to be a short-lived ordeal, say a month long and then done, I absolutely agree with all the CDC recommendations, mask, PPE, blah, blah, blah. But with the duration that it's looking like and that they're talking about, I don't know that the atrophy to the immune system is a worthwhile trade-off. And if you have enough people that follow all those recommendations, I don't know that if it's going to be better or worse in the long term than if we just didn't wear masks and all that. I think that due to the contagion rate of this, I think that a lot of the precautions we're taking are I think they're lowering your chance of getting it on a day-to-day basis, but I think that eventually a high percentage of the population is going to get it. New York put out some numbers a while back. They had about I think 0.5% of the population had a confirmed coronavirus test done in a medical setting where the person felt bad enough to go seek medical attention because they thought they had it. That's fine. The interesting thing is that they ran a blood serum test where they were looking for antibodies, and a higher percentage of the population ended up having this bug. I think it was about 5% of the population that they tested had the bug. And so I don't think that PPE is going to keep everybody safe forever. I think all the initial precautions that we were told to undergo were to flatten the curve. Well, guess what? The curve's been flattened. Nowhere in the United States has had an overrun of medical capacity. It's been pushed towards the upper limit, but I think it's time to reevaluate what we're doing, and I think things need to reopen. I also have heard a lot of stories about doctors and nurses being laid off temporarily because hospitals are not allowed by government order to do elective surgeries at this point. And you've got that going on in places where the virus doesn't have a lot of where you don't have a lot of active cases of the virus. So I think that that's kind of silly. Example, if you had a knee surgery scheduled for April, you have not had your knee replacement done. A lot of other people are not going for normally, that could be in risk categories for this, have not been seeking normal medical attention that they normally would have been, re-upping their prescriptions, things like that, because of the risk. When all this, I've been saying this for a long time, when all this is over, the numbers that come out are going to be very interesting to go over. So, anyway, with all that said, folks, I'm at my first side job, so I got to jump off of here. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all stay safe. And this has been another Cruise of Smooth.